Hello everyone, welcome back to Cross/Game, and I am on a roll already recording my second video very shortly after my first video has aired, only because I want to keep the momentum going, trying to keep some sort of consistency in the content being brought out. And with this episode, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of my thoughts on, or my expectations around the new Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Mainly my top 5 things I want to see within the new game. So we've had the pleasure of playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, and we kind of have like this expectation now of what the next game is meant to look like, what it's meant to play like, what we want to see. There's like this bar now that's been established. You know, there's a high quality there now that Square Enix can't go back on. Now we've, again, as per my last video, there's been a lot of information that's been brought out by the developers themselves, the gameplay videos released, all the streamers that have played the demos, and I have a broad range of knowledge of what's been going on. And in saying so, obviously things like the battle system, I know it's been revamped. It looks and plays apparently really great. There's a lot more going on there with the synergy attacks, for example, and extra characters to play with, like such as Red 13 and Kate Sith. So we take all that as a given. We know that there is a semblance of what the next installment's meant to be like, because we've played, or to the people that have played the original, know what to expect as a bare minimum. But in this case, there are still 5 things. There's probably a lot more, but I've narrowed it down to 5 things that I want Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to have within its game time, you know, its runtime. And number 1 is literally a seamless world map. So what do I mean by this? I really want the map to very much feel like the original game. There's a lot of things that you know, they've changed and they've improved from the original, and that's great. But I know it's very difficult to keep a player engaged with a map. You know, you either make it big enough to allow player to explore, you know, to find out, you know, so you have to pack it up with secrets and things to do. So a player will go out and, you know, explore every single corner there is to explore, climb every mountain, and you know, if you can see it, maybe you can get to it sort of exploring. We've had in instances in the past, such as like Final Fantasy 15, which had a humongous map. You could walk it and drive it, but there isn't that much to do. Let's go over there, and then you'd get to the end, you'd get there, and it's like, well, there's nothing here. And we don't want that. You know, I think we've come a long way from that sort of gameplay mechanic of just having this massive map with nothing to do. But I guess what I mean by it is, say, just like the original, when eventually you do get a airship, you literally can fly around the planet, just like the old Final Fantasy. You just get on the airship and you can literally just keep flying in one direction, and you come all the way around 360. And that's what I want. That's what I mean by a seamless map to explore. Number 2. I don't know if this is going to happen, but I used to enjoy variety in weapons, and there's a lot of characters, you know, to get weapons for now, and in the end you end up with a good chunk of them. The original, you know, your item list just on weapons had, you know, a fair share that allowed for a good variety. Obviously you don't really get to use them until you get the next one, and then it just gets put aside. And in retrospect, whilst that may be something that isn't right for today's standards of video games, because, you know, these developers, they have to craft these weapons, and just to be used for an hour or two and then put aside is maybe not the right way to do it. So I wouldn't actually mind if Final Fantasy VII had a crafting system. So something that you collect items, much like 8, and you go around collecting some items to make weapons, because it gives you a side task to do. You know, I will need to get this weapon, I want to get that weapon, and that would be wicked. Because whilst before you just buy weapons at a store, you could steal it from a monster, or it just become an enemy drop or something like that. That's fine, and I think some weapons could be that way because it adds variety to how you acquire these weapons. But ultimately, a crafting system would, I think, lend itself really well to Final Fantasy VII Remake because of that steampunk. There's a lot there that you can use to make amazing weapons. But there you go, just throwing it out there. Maybe it would be wicked. I doubt it'll be the case because the original didn't have a crafting system and Remake didn't have a crafting system. You would just get your weapons from chests and whatnot, or buy it from buy it from a shop. So maybe that's how it's going to continue, but we'll see. One can only hope. Number 3, we've seen the trailers have showed chocobos, and very early on you already have flying chocobos, or mountain chocobos. For those who played the original, you wouldn't get anything like that until kind of like end game territory where you're doing sort of chocobo breeding, and that's exactly what I want. Chocobo breeding. It's so quirky. It's such a games don't have these sort of light-hearted gameplay mechanics anymore, like side missions or side quests that are light-hearted and silly, which completely balance out the seriousness of the story. And I think that's one of the things that makes Final Fantasy VII great, is that it doesn't take itself that seriously. I think maybe one of the biggest downfalls for 16 was exactly that. It takes itself so seriously, and whilst it's great and it lends itself very well to the dark fantasy genre, at some points I would zone off because it was a bit too much. One day I'll make a review of Final Fantasy 16, but at the moment, I think chocobo breeding would be amazing. You have them all around the wild. There is chocobo stables. There has to be chocobo breeding. Maybe that's been announced in some roundtable discussion from the developers already, but I've not seen it, so I'm putting it out there. Chocobo breeding, please. Number 4, there's one gripe I had with Remake, and it was summons and how they're coming into existence. Chadley is okay. He's alright. I know there's a lot more nuance to him as a character. There's a lot more there to explore. He's some sort of cyborg or some rubbish, but ultimately I don't mind the addition of new characters. It's fine, but he is intrinsically connected to material development. Now, material is meant to be connected to the live stream and the ancients and the planet, and summons specifically are beings that are a type of materia, and they also should be created from the live stream and Marco energy and the planet, not Chadley, not through Chadley. It just feels like a very cheap way of introducing these amazing, beautiful battle mechanics into the game, because you can fight them and then you acquire them. Brilliant. Okay, it's a good thing to do. You're fighting a summon and then you get it. That's fine. But I used to really love getting materia in the wild. Like, I think you get, is it Chocobo, the Chocomog material in Final Fantasy Remake? It's in some event. That's the closest you'll get, but I prefer it if maybe, just maybe, Square goes out of their way to include some story-related content around some of the summon materia, and maybe how they came into existence. What is their background? There's a lot of mythology around most of them, so it would be great to slide some story content in there for us to pack up that game even more. Not pad it, pack it, make it better, improve on it by giving us a bit more background around it. Not all materials, it doesn't need to be all of them, but some of them. I don't know, Chadley could be involved in that as the story quest, or the quest giver to attain a summon materia, sure. But I wish there was a bit more sort of context behind them, and not just Chadley magically making a materia, then you fight it and you get it. I think that's pretty boring. So, yeah, a bit more story related summon content would be awesome. Lastly, number 5 is one that's very, I think that will tie everything together, and it has to have good pacing. What do I mean by this? I thought Final Fantasy 16 was all over the place with its pacing. It really throws you off. Those side quests, I know what they're meant to represent. I understand it. And I get that they expand the side characters and they give more background information on side characters, make them really lived in. And in context, there isn't that many side characters, and the side quests are, some of them are, you know, fetch quests and whatever, but some of them really dive deep into the backgrounds of these side characters, which is fine. But there is a way to do these things. It was too much. I think the only example I have of how bad pacing can get is you literally unlock the last mission in Final Fantasy 16 to go and defeat the last boss of the game, and you get thrown something like 10 side quests, which you're like, oh, okay, I'm just about to break my rhythm here. I have to go and do these 10 side quests, which make no sense now because I've just done all this and I've literally at this peak of my hype and I'm playing this game and I'm really enjoying it and I'm gonna go for the ending, but they decide to give me these side quests now. Like, it just throws me off on a loop, and I didn't like that. 15 also had a problem with pacing in its vast open world, and you're driving towards the next point of interest with your gang, next story beat, and then, oh, what's this? Let's stop here, and then they get a bunch of side quests at a store or whatever, a shop, hunts or whatever, and then hours go by. It's like, what were we doing again? You know, it needs to have a consistency. It needs to clearly be pieced together that if you're giving options to a player whilst they're following the story, it can't ultimately deviate them completely off track. Like, it can't make them forget what the hell was going on, for one. So because it will mess up the game for me, in my opinion. Pacing is almost key in possibly every single video game. You can't just throw curveballs at, you know, unless it's story related, then don't do it. Give me side missions or side quests, fine, but give me the opportunity. Don't put them in my face. Like, oh, here, look at this flashing light, go and do it. Like, because it will detract. Because the fear of missing out is a real thing. You start fearing, like, if I don't do the side quest, I'm just going to miss out on some amazing item. And you know what usually happens? You go and do the side quest, and it's a total pile of crap. And you get nothing. You get a bit of experience, and that's the end of it. And that will just annoy the hell out of me if they do that in Rebirth. So, number 5 is game pacing. Anyway, this video's gone on for long enough now. I wanted to make it like under 10 minutes, but that's near enough impossible. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what your top 5 things you want to see in the game, apart from what already is out there, because there's a lot of information out there, obviously. But apart from what's out there, what's your personal top 5? What do you want to see? Share that in the comments below. Let me know. I'll definitely respond, because I have no followers, basically. And I hope to change that at some point in the future, so I'll have time to respond to you guys' comments. So please like, share, subscribe. Let's discuss below. And I hope to see you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.